क्या हुआ बे? अबे रॉकेट काहे बने हुए हो?
ग्रेजुएशन के लिए सिर्फ 4 महीने बचे हैं और समझ नहीं आ रहा आगे क्या करूं। शुरू कहां से करूं?
अबे इंटर्नशाला ट्रेनिंग से मैं बताता हूँ। यहाँ है मशीन लर्निंग, जावा, एचआर, टैली जैसे बहुत सारे करियर बिल्डिंग ट्रेनिंग सेलेक्ट कर और अपना करियर शुरू कर। इंटर्नशाला ट्रेनिंग्स, शुरुआत यहीं से।
Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm your host Manpreet. Welcome to the fifth season of IST Practicals by Internshala Trainings. IST Practicals is a series of free online masterclasses delivered by industry experts. These 45-minute sessions are all about teaching students important concepts, softwares, and tools. Every IST Practical is an opportunity to experience the power of practical learning. The topic of today's session is Internet of Things, and our teacher today is Pranav. He is the co-founder of Bolt IoT and has 10 years of experience in the Internet of Things. He was one of the entrepreneurs who accompanied Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his visit to the Silicon Valley, where Bolt IoT was showcased at the first Indo-US Startup Konnect in September 2015. He has extensive teaching experience, and his online training has been attended by more than 30,000 students from 62 different countries. So I hope you will enjoy this webinar with him. We have a very special gift for you at the end, so stay tuned for that. तो चलिए करते हैं इंटरनेट ऑफ थिंग्स की इस मास्टर क्लास की शुरुआत यहीं से, एंड लेट्स वेलकम प्रणव.
Thank you so much, Manpreet, for the introduction. Hi, everybody. It's really nice to be part of this session by Internshala, and I'm really excited to share across with all of you all my learnings of all these years in Internet of Things, and also give you a brief idea on how you can get started with the Internet of Things. So before we get started, I have a quick question for you, a very short question. Do you have an IoT device at home? And if you on this IoT device could be like a smart bulb. I have one in my room where I can just say, hey Alexa, turn on the lights, and my lights come on. Or it can be something like even smart vehicle, like you've got these Ather has this or Ola Electrical, there are these smart vehicles, so even they are all internet connected, so those are also fine. Whatever of these devices you have, write in your comments section. I would want to know what devices you have. And I would want to read out some of them, once you write in your comments, which IoT devices do you have? Yeah, we've got first one. Isaac Newton says smart LED bulb. That's a nice thing. Anushka Saxena says she's got a smart TV, then smart speaker. So very interesting examples. A lot of people are having LED bulbs, air conditioner, smart TV. Dhruvi has. A lot of people seems to be having LED bulbs. Very interesting. So these are really great. It's really nice to be talking to a lot of you who already have these smart IoT devices, and really excited. I mean, that sounds great. Okay, fantastic. So really nice to read all those answers, and I'm very happy that we've got a very engaging audience here. Thank you so much for all of those answers. So let's get started. Now, before we get started, so all of you have these IoT devices. Many of you have these IoT devices in your home, and you must be wondering, okay, how are these devices built? What is it that makes these devices? So that's what we are going to learn about it. And so I have a small snippet of what we are going to learn today. We're going to start with a brief introduction to the Internet of Things. Then we're going to discuss about some of the elements of IoT, such as hardware, cloud, etc. Then we will move into some of the use cases of IoT, where Internet of Things gets used. And then I will also be giving you a project demo. So, we are going to build our own project, and I'm going to give you a demonstration of the project. And then I'll also tell you briefly about some of the job opportunities that you can have in the Internet of Things field. So very exciting lineup we have for today. And I'm very happy to share all of these learnings with you. So first point to be discussed, what is IoT? Now, I've got a very basic definition of Internet of Things here. The Internet of Things, IoT, describes the network of physical objects, things that are embedded with sensors, softwares, and other technologies for the purpose of connecting and exchanging data with other devices and systems over the internet. Now, let's look at it again. It starts with network of physical objects, things. So you've got a smart light bulb. The light bulb is a thing, it's an object, it's a physical object which is there, which also, in addition to a regular light bulb, will also have sensors or softwares and other technologies embedded in that. So that's where a difference comes, compared to a regular devices. And this is for the purpose of connecting and exchanging data. What do I mean by here? So, when I say to a smart light bulb, Alexa, turn on the light, it's an information, it's a data that light has to be switched on. It is exchanged with the light bulb. So the reason here is for connecting and exchanging the data with other devices and systems over the internet. So of course, that's where the whole Internet of Things comes in, because, we are communicating over the internet. So it starts with things and then ends with, the definition ends with internet. So that is what we look at when we say Internet of Things. Now, let me again share, a lot of you already shared some of very interesting IoT products that you already have. I'll share some of them also across with you. One is smart cars. Smart cars are very interesting IoT products that we have. Tesla Motors, the cars that Tesla Motor makes today, they are all internet connected. You will get an OTA update. And in fact, in India, now you're seeing a lot of smart bikes and other vehicles, which is also very interesting. So they are all internet connected. In fact, I was seeing one of the smart bike company in their ad. They said that, one person says that, okay, I got a new bike. And the one who had the smart bike, or the e-bike, the e-vehicles which are there today, he said that, I just got an OTA update. So I got a new feature in my bike. So, just like how you upgrade your smartphone, you can also upgrade your smart bike or the smart vehicle. Smart light bulb, that was one of the most common example when I asked, many of the viewers that what devices you have. Majority said that you've got a smart light bulb. Again, very popular device. And there is another one interesting is smart vending machines which are there. So to tell you a story, sometime back, during the COVID pandemic, I was working from home, which is in my hometown in Goa. And there is a co-working space there. So I was sitting out of, and then, as the pandemic was easing out, I used to sometimes work out of the co-working space. And in this co-working space, there is they had a vending machine where you can some bhujia and some snacks and some items would be there. Now, if I have to buy these items from this vending machine, earlier what it used to be there is, we used to have those coins and we would put like 1 rupee coins and the item would come out. But this time when I saw it, it was different. They had a QR code and they said, just scan the QR code with the smartphone and directly it would get the instruction. The money would be debited from my bank through Phone Pay or Google Pay. All of those, the standard QR code that we have for UPI today. So I would just scan with that and the data information would be transferred to this vending machine over the internet, because I have completed my payment through Phone Pay, but how would the machine know? And it comes to know through the internet. So the Phone Pay's API or Google Pay's API will connect to it, and immediately the product would come out. So that is exactly how the system would work, and which is a very interesting use case. I was very intrigued. I was like, wow, you've got a IoT devices here as well. And then we've got smart microwave ovens. Very interesting, again, a use case where nowadays it shows you, okay, what item you want to cook on your smartphone, you choose, and it will send the signal to the microwave oven telling that for how long it has to cook and all the information, and you're good to go. So these are just few of the IoT use cases, some of the examples that I told you about it. I'll be sharing a few more as we go along during this session. Now, I've got a quick question for you. For this question, let me move to the Internshala's training platform here. And you should be able to see a question on my screen, which is, who coined the term Internet of Things? Who came up with the terminology Internet of Things? And I've got answers here. Steve Jobs, we've got Jimmy Wales, there is Dennis Ritchie, and Kevin Ashton. So you guys can write the answers in the comment section. I would love to know what you think. You can go ahead and write your answers there in the comment section. Who coined the term Internet of Things? We've got the option between Steve Jobs, Jimmy Wales, Dennis Ritchie, and Kevin Ashton. So go ahead, comment your answers. We would like to know. Shubham Panchal says Steve Jobs. No, that is not the correct answer though. Ganesh Kumar says B, Jimmy Wales. Okay, let's see. Debasish Panda also says B, Jimmy Wales. Sham Kumar also says B, Jimmy Wales. A lot of people are saying Jimmy Wales. Janmesh Taral says Kevin Ashton. Hitat Nayak says Kevin Ashton. Okay, a lot of people are saying so. Okay, let's try choosing Kevin Ashton and let's see. And yes, that is the correct answer. Now, Kevin Ashton was the person who coined the term Internet of Things. He was not like an inventor of Internet of Things. Internet of Things existed even before Kevin Ashton came the term. But one of the paper that he used, the scientific paper that he wrote for P&G, that is where he used the term Internet of Things, and which is where it got very popular. Okay, so that was just a bit of a trivia about Internet of Things. Now, moving forward, let us look at some of the elements of IoT. Now, what do I mean by elements of IoT? What is IoT made up of? Like a typical IoT device or an IoT system. What all things is it like consist of? What is it made up of? These are some of the elements that I've shown you here. It consists of hardware, firmware, cloud, communication protocol, and analytics. Okay, and I'll explain each of these a little bit in detail as well to you. The first and foremost comes the part about hardware. Hardware, again, very basic this thing. Obvious, you would know that since we are talking about Internet of Things, we've got physical devices. That is where the hardware would come in. So your light bulb is the hardware. But in addition to that, a typical IoT system, like let's say I'll still continue with an example of a smart light bulb. So you've got the light bulb, but in addition to that, this light bulb will also have a microcontroller inside it. Now that is where there is a difference in the device. So what do I mean by microcontroller? It's like a computer. It's a chip that goes inside this device, which is going to be able to communicate over the internet to the external systems, and then transfer this information to the light bulb, and that's what is going to switch it on and off. So that is exactly how a typical IoT device or a system would have it. Now, this hardware, which would be there, the microcontroller and the devices, in addition to this, it also has a firmware on board. Now, what do I mean by firmware? Firmware is typically the simplest layman's language. If I had to explain, it would be like a software that goes on a microcontroller or a on this device. So it's a software that goes on an electronic system. So this microcontroller, just the plain physical hardware is of no use. We would write our program and code on it. So, if so-and-so signal is received from the internet, switch on the light, and so forth. So that is exactly where the firmware would come into picture. Okay. And this data, so now we've got the physical device, which will have the firmware and the hardware on it. This is further connected to cloud. Now, cloud is, in a simplest term to put it, it is like a computer which is located somewhere remotely. So our device would just talk to the cloud, and on the cloud, all our processing would happen. So cloud is nothing but, it's just like another computer or a hardware which is running remotely. So the cloud would then send the signal, or our device would just send the signal to the cloud. And on the cloud, let us say we have got another example. If I had to take like a temperature monitoring system, which collects the temperature data, it would continuously send this data on the cloud for logging it or even processing it, getting insights out of it. So all of that processing would happen on the cloud. Cloud is like I would say it's more like a heart of a typical IoT system. And the next part is the communication protocol, because your firmware has to talk to cloud, and that is where the communication protocols would come in. Now there are different communication protocols which exist, like simplest, the ones which you commonly would know is like a Wi-Fi, or you have got GSM, where you use a SIM card and send the data. So these are all communication protocols. And in IoT, there are a few specialized communication protocols as well, like MQTT. I'll not go much in detail into it. My idea here is just to give you a brief flavor about the thing. So I'll not go in detail, but the communication protocols are where the communication would typically, they would carry the data from one point to another so that the systems can talk and understand between each other. And the last part is analytics. So I'll come to that, in just the next few slides. Now, this is how a typical flow of an IoT system would be there. So you've got your sensors or motor. I give a motor, it could be a light bulb, it could be an LED, any of these things. But basically sensors and actuators would be there. They would talk to the hardware like a microcontroller, which will then communicate over the internet to the cloud. So this is how a typical data flow would happen. And the device which would be there, the hardware can a lot of time connect to a Wi-Fi router, or it could be through a GSM chip. So this would turn the information over the internet, send it to the cloud, where we can then process. And especially if you have got sensors, the data can be logged on the cloud, so that later on, if you want to receive it or analyze it, all the data would be there. Or you can even get insights out of this data, and that is where the analytics would come into picture. Now, what do I mean by analytics? So analytics is where let's say I've got an example of a simple sensor, like a temperature sensor, which is connected to the cloud. Now, my temperature data is continuously being sent to the cloud, and it is being stored there. Now, once it goes on the cloud, I would also want it to be analyzed. And I just don't want like a plain data. Okay, I've got like a huge Excel sheet with the temperature values. That is of no use. So instead of that, on the cloud, we will put an if-else statement and says that, okay, if my temperature crosses a certain threshold, do so-and-so action, like send me an alert over SMS or an email. So that is where the data would go on the cloud. And at any point, let us say, it crosses the threshold, the analytics would send us an alert. So which is where it comes in. But that's a very simple example. You can do a lot more things with analytics. Like another basic thing you can do is you can just plot a graph, like a line graph, where you can view the analytics and, view the data in a much better presentable way. Or you can even learn machine learning algorithms where you can predict the future sensor values. So something like this as well. I mean, you can run anomaly detection, which can tell you if suddenly if a temperature value goes outside the range, something is going wrong in the room where you are maintaining the temperature. There could be a fire, it could be anything. So that is where your analytics which would come into picture, and that is where the analytics would help. So that is where we would slice and dice the data, understand out of it, get insights from the data that our IoT system has collected, and process it further. So that is what the analytics would be. Now, I've got another quick question for you. Let me move to the question section. I'll go to the next. Okay, this is a very, very simple question. I've already told you about it. What are the elements of IoT? We've got cloud, hardware, firmware, and all of the above. So can you go ahead in the comments, tell me what are the elements of the IoT? Shrihita says D. Rohit Yash says D. Hitarth Naik also says all of the above. Abhirup Datta says all. Yeah, and I think pretty much we are aware of this. This is something that we did discuss as part of our session. So we all know that the answer here is all of the above. So all these points are cloud, hardware, firmware. They all make up IoT system. And that's the correct answer. Okay, I'll get back to my presentation here. Okay, so the next one. So this was a bit of a technical aspects of IoT that I explained to you, just very briefly. Okay, this is IoT. These are the elements of the IoT and all that. Now I'll explain all of these things with a very it's a very interesting example that I wanted to share with you. It's an application of IoT, which is what we mentioned about a use case of IoT that we had planned to discuss. So we'll discuss about that now. Now, here's a story again. A few years ago, not when I'm saying few years ago, just about 3 years, or I think it was about like 3 years ago. I got a call from a friend of mine, and he used to work in a pharmaceutical company. And he was like, Pranav, see, we have a problem. So I said, what happened? So he said that, Pranav, what has happened is that in our pharmaceutical company, we make these medicines that are manufactured, and the medicines always need to be maintained at a constant temperature value. At any point, they need to be stored at a particular temperature level, at a particular value. So now in a pharma company, since they need to maintain it at that particular temperature, the problem is that sometimes, let's say, their device or a machine stops no. And why specifically he asked me about it, because in his company, on a holiday, I think it was a day of a Diwali, what happened is that nobody was there in the office, and suddenly that freezer where the medicines were stored stopped working. And in that case, you have to completely throw the medicines out, because they have to be constantly maintained at a particular temperature, because if the temperature crosses the threshold, the life of the medicine is gone. And these medicines are very, very costly a lot of times. So what do you do in that case? Now, this problem would have been averted that on the Diwali day, even though there was no employee in their factory, in their manufacturing unit, what if there was a smart intelligent device like a smart temperature sensor, which once it found out that the freezer is not working, or once the temperature started increasing, would immediately send us an SMS or an email or a WhatsApp message saying that, look, my device is not working, and that could have solved the problem, right? So this is so he came to me saying that, Pranav, look, you have been working in an IoT space, can you solve this problem for you? And we said, yes, we'll do that. And that is exactly how we went ahead and decided to, that's where we decided to build the Blake temperature humidity monitoring solution. I'll tell you a little bit about that. So what this device does, Blake, is that it comes with a sensor probe and a hardware unit. And this device would constantly, the sensor probe would collect the data and send the data constantly to cloud. So at all points, the data would be collected and it will keep sending it to the cloud. And on the cloud, we would run the analytics, simple, basic thing, nothing fancy. We just say that, okay, if the temperature has gone above a certain threshold, we'll keep checking. And it will send us an alert. Now, that's where the genius and the smartness of Internet of Things comes in. That moment it says that, okay, the temperature has crossed the threshold, it will send you an alert, or it can be or an SMS or an email or WhatsApp, various channels. It will send us an alert. And the person, my friend who was working in the pharmaceutical company, he could take the action. And this has exactly happened. Few months back, at 2 o'clock at night, the system stopped working. The freezer, the compressor just decided to conk off, it just stopped working. What happened immediately? This time, he immediately got an alert over an SMS. In fact, to be precise, he actually got an alert this time over a phone call. So we also built in another thing. He had a very interesting thing. Okay, that, okay, what if the SMS is just one small ting sound it is going to make? So how would I know if I'm sleeping? So the phone rang at night, and there was an automated machine call saying that, hey, your freezer seems to have stopped working. Please check. So he immediately called the security guard and who was there on the duty, saying that, okay, can you go and check? And he just went back immediately. Turned out the compressor had stopped working immediately. There and there at night, they got the technician, and in fact, they moved all those medicines into another freezer, and it saves lakhs and lakhs of rupees. So that is something very, very useful and interesting. So this is what a very classic example of Internet of Things. And this is, again, the story that I told you. This is exactly the device that we have built as part of it. It's known as, again, as I mentioned, the Blake temperature and humidity monitor. So this is how the device would be there. If you can see, there is a probe and there is a sensor to it. The sensor will constantly collect the data, push it to this hardware unit. From the hardware unit, the data is constantly sent to the cloud. And I've kept my computer and a phone. So on a mobile phone or on a computer, at any point, you can view the current temperature and the humidity rating levels. And in addition, as I mentioned, you can get alerts over SMS, email, mobile app push notification, phone call, and even WhatsApp. So, and which is such an interesting thing to think about. Instead of talking just to your friends on WhatsApp, now you can chat with physical devices. You can chat with instead of your friend sending you a message late night, you can have a temperature monitor who will message you and say, hey, can you just check, there is a device that is, your temperature is not working. Can you please go ahead and check? So that makes it something so interesting. And this is what I really find it. That's where, it's where the magic happens. We earlier could only talk to our friends, but now we can talk to machines and devices, and they can message us, they can tell us what it is, and we have like a watchdog whenever we need to take care of things. And that is what things that makes it beautiful. And today this device that we have is being used across in various industries. We've got pharmaceutical, data center, server rooms. We've got manufacturing units across India. Again, while you're manufacturing certain items, you need to maintain the temperature, humidity at a certain specific point. So it gets used in food industry. We've got users which are using it. So across different industries, this device gets used. So it's a very classic example of an enterprise or an industrial Internet of Things device. So this was very brief. This was again about a use case and how our lives are becoming so much better with Internet of Things. Now, we at Bolt IoT, as you might have realized, that we also make our own Internet of Things platform. And Blake is also based on this Internet of Things platform. And now I will show you how you can build a very simple IoT project, and the same project, a temperature monitoring system with on the Bolt IoT platform. So let me give you a brief idea about it. So here's the problem statement that we are going to do. We discussed about the problem on pharmaceutical industry having the issue. So we're going to build a temperature monitoring system like the one we saw in the pharma company that collects the data via sensor, sends it to the cloud over Wi-Fi, and also plots a graph of that data collected over a cloud dashboard. So we're going to collect the data, send it over Wi-Fi, and plot a graph of this data over a cloud dashboard. Okay, so the first step here would be to build a circuit connection for it, right? So let me go ahead and let's do the circuit connection as the next step. For building this, we will use a Bolt Wi-Fi module, an LM35 temperature sensor, and some connecting wires. In addition, we will also require something to power up the board. You can use a 5-volt micro USB charger or even a power bank. Now, let's do the circuit connections. We will first connect the wires to the sensor. If you notice, the sensor has two sides. One side is flat and the other side is rounded. Keep the flat side of the sensor facing towards you while we are doing the circuit connections. Now, the rightmost pin of the sensor is the ground pin, to which we will connect the black colored wire. The middle pin is the sensor output pin. So I will connect the same. The leftmost pin is the VCC pin of the sensor, to which I will connect the red wire. You can use the wires of any color, just that remember which wire goes to which pin of Bolt. Now, let us hook up the sensor to the Bolt Wi-Fi module by connecting the other end of the wire. Connect the black wire to the ground pin of Bolt. Next, connect the yellow wire which was connected to the central pin to the pin A0, which is an analog input pin of Bolt. Now, connect the red wire to the 5-volt pin of Bolt. Now, why are we connecting the middle pin, the yellow wire, to pin A0? Well, because the LM35 sensor is an analog sensor, and A0 is the only pin on Bolt which has got analog to digital conversion on it. So we got to connect it. Now, we need to power up the Bolt so that it connects to the Bolt cloud through our Wi-Fi network. We will use an Android USB cable to power the Bolt. Right, so we've got a circuit connected, and as you can see, I'll tell you a couple of points here on the Wi-Fi module which is there. Now, one thing which I did in advance was connecting this Wi-Fi module to the Wi-Fi router right here in my office. I've already connected it to the Wi-Fi router so that we can save the time during the demonstration today. And what I have done here is, you can see there are two LEDs. There is one blue colored LED, and which has got Wi-Fi written next to it, and there's a green color LED which will have a cloud written next to it. So the Wi-Fi LED, when it's glowing, that means it's connected to the Wi-Fi router, and the green color LED, if it is glowing, that would means that it has got internet connectivity, because sometimes your device could be connected to Wi-Fi, but the internet could be down. All these indicate LEDs are also there on the Bolt module. So that is taken care of. And one very important point, remember this when we go along with the next step, is that our device, we have connected the pin to pin A0. Okay, so just remember that we have connected it to the pin A0. The A0 pin is the one which is the analog pin. So it is the only pin on the Bolt Wi-Fi module which can convert the analog signal of the sensor. This sensor is an analog sensor, right? LM35, because it is going to give me the data in an analog, the correct temperature values in an analog way. So I need to connect it to the analog pin. You've got either analog sensors or digital sensors. So this is an analog sensor which is there. So I've connected it to the A0 pin. Now let me log in to cloud.boltiot.com. That would be the next step for us. Okay. So here I will go here, and I've got a couple of devices. So this is my device, which is already online and it is not linked. So we've not linked to the product. This is my another device which I've just kept it on around here, but this is the device that we'll work with. So remember this number, Bolt 8023340. We'll have to remember it for the next step. Now the device is here, but if I click on this one and say view device, it just says, sample device control view. It just shows me some this value, because there is no program or software code already written on this. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. What we want to do here, remember the problem statement, we want to plot a graph of, where we can see the temperature values of which this sensor is collecting. So we're going to plot a graph here, right? So that is going to be our goal at the end of it. And I will show you, this device here. Okay, so yeah, I'll just switch on this device here. So this has already got some values. See, so this is like how we are going to build our own graph. Okay, so now we'll go ahead, and so this device is already getting some graph, but this one is what we are going to work with. So I'll go to product section. Now, what is a product? Code device. So that is where products help. So what you would do is that I would simply connect the device directly to the system, and I would just say that I would just write the code and I would transfer it onto my device. So that is how the system would work. So once I once I write my code, I just connect this product to my device, and all the code will get transferred upon it. Okay. So let us see, we'll go to add products, and I will say create new product, right? And we've got input devices and GPIO. So I'll first write the name of the product. I'll say demo, webinar. Okay. I'll just given this. Now, what would you like to connect to your Bolt? We've got an option of input devices, and there is an option of GPIO around here, right? So we've got two options, is input devices and GPIO. So what would you like to connect to the Bolt? Input device or output devices? Very simple. Temperature sensor is a input device, right? So I would say input devices. Okay. So that is one point. And second point is, how would you like to collect the data? So we've got an option here between GPIO and UART. Now this pin connects over GPIO, which is general purpose input output, right? So that is why I would choose the option as GPIO, and we have got UART. So this sensor connects over GPIO pins. We've just connected to the A0 pin. So the option would be GPIO. So I've given my product name. I've chosen it as input device simply because temperature sensor is an input device. And I've chosen the option as GPIO since the device is the sensor which we have connected is over a GPIO. Now, I'll just go back. I'll go to these questions here. And I've got one more question for you. I actually kind of gave out the answer of this. What is the full form of GPIO in an electronics board? Can you tell me that? What is the full form of GPIO? Can you write in the comment section? I'm getting answers. Soumya Singh says C, general purpose input output. Manish Khavar says A, governing parcel Indian organization. No, that's surely not the answer. Prathamesh says C, general purpose input output. Majority of you are saying C, and that's very something which we anyways learn in our college as well. So I'll choose the option C and I'll say submit. Yes, that is the correct answer. Okay, so now we have chosen GPIO and input devices, and I will just say done. Okay, so we'll go in a step-by-step manner building this solution. So this is our product. Now that I have created this product, it says this product has not yet been set up. So click on this icon about to configure it. Because we have to configure this. We just created the product. So I'll click on configure product. And I will go, README is like it will give you all the instructions on how to go about things. But I will go to the hardware section. Okay, now these are the steps given here. Assemble the circuit using the hardware module as per your requirement. Now, best part is we've already done the circuit assembly, right? Perfect. And keep an eye on it. One heads up here, as I'm building this project, just keep an eye. If I make an error or something, let me know in the comment section so that I can fix it immediately, right? So I would also need your help as we go along with this. So we'll do it together. The next step 2 is select the pins as per the circuit design and assign a unique variable name to them. Okay, so as per our circuit design, we have to choose the pin, right? So we connected to which pin? Pin A0, correct? Right, let me know in the comment section if I've done this correctly, so that, I will immediately come to know about it and I can fix if I'm making any error. So A0 is the analog pin. So I have to give a variable name here. So I will give a variable name as temp, T-E-M-P. Okay. And data collection rate, like how fast do we want to collect the data, right? Because we are going to collect the temperature data, right? So every few minutes, the data will be collected. So I will choose 5 minutes. Okay. So I have chosen 5 minutes. We'll go ahead with that. And now I will save this. Save changes to your product. I will say save. Okay, done. Configuration saved. Now we'll move to the next step. I'm telling you again, if I make anywhere an error, let me know. I'll need your help. So you can write in the comments anywhere if you see, if anything needs to be changed. Okay, now comes the file name part. Now we'll give any file name to it. I will say temp underscore monitor. Okay, simple temperature monitor. I've given a short form file name and choose the file extension. Now here we are going to write the code in JavaScript. So I have chosen the extension as JS. Okay, there is an option for HTML and JavaScript. I will not go in detail about how JavaScript works, how how does HTML work. I'm going to skip that part here, but I will still tell you a very brief, basic idea about the code. So just rough idea I will surely give about it. Okay, so next is I've clicked on save, and I will save the changes to your product. I have done that. Now, what we had decided that we are going to collect the temperature data and plot a line graph. So I'm going to choose I'm going to do a little bit of a shortcut here, and I'm going to choose line graph as the option, and I'll explain you this code. Okay, so don't worry about that. And I'm going to say select, and quantity is temperature. So this is basically the hardware variable. So temp was the variable that we had chosen where the temperature sensors data was getting stored, and I will say generate. So this is my graph, and I will say insert. Okay, so my graph, all the data this is the code that has already got inserted in this. Now I will try to explain you in very brief what do you mean by each of these lines point here. So first is set chart library. This is Google chart. So here the library that we are using to plot the chart, it is a Google library, Google Charts library. So option is going to be set chart library is Google chart. Then set chart title. So here, this is the title, your graph title, which is written here. So this I can always change. So I will say, okay, I have just a second. Yeah, I'll need to move this one. Monitor. Right. So I've just given it a name as temp monitor. Just a short form for temperature. So I said temperature monitor. Then set chart type. Chart type, if chosen as line graph, you can be different thing like a bar graph, area graph. It depends on your applications as well, how you go about doing it. And then I've got two more options here. Set axis name. I'll also so that it is very clear for everybody to see this thing. So set axis name. I've got timestamp, which is for the x-axis, and I've got temp written on the y-axis. Temperature, I've just used the short form everywhere, okay, that as temp. So x-axis, the name will be written as, here it is test and time, because this was a different code that I had written, and temp. So I hope this is going to be my code. I'll come back again and explain it later. I'm going to save changes to this product. Yes. I'll just reduce the size. Okay, we have saved the product, and if everything we have done is correctly done, then everything should work fine. And don't worry about it. I'm going to just come back and explain this part again as well. Okay, so don't worry. So I'm going to close this. Now, this product is not linked to any device. So we have written the product, the code, but it has to be transferred to the device. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to choose link the product to the device. And this was the name, right, of the device which we mentioned earlier we're going to use. So I'm going to say done. Do you really want to link this device with the product? I'm going to say yes. Okay, so this is our product. It is linked to the device. Now, this is the moment of truth. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and say view this device. It has not collected any data as of now. I'm going to say push data to cloud. Let us see if it can get some data point values. Yes. Wow. Okay. We've got two data point values here, which are clearly showing here. Now, you might see that the temperature has actually changed a lot in a very short time point, but it is just 270 and 271. So, it's in a very small time gap between this. So that is why, it appears to be changing a lot. So what I can again do is I can say push data to cloud again. And every time I say push data to cloud, it will push the data, but you don't have to do this manually. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to do keep pushing the data manually to the cloud every time. It is just that otherwise by default it will can you tell me if I don't press on push data to cloud, can you tell me in comments how quickly, like how often it will send the data to the cloud, the values? We've already done that earlier. So can you tell me, like, if I'm not manually pushing the data to cloud, how often it will push the data to cloud? Let's see if we're getting some answers here. Yeah, I think most of you have been, I'm very happy that people have been really paying some good attention here. Mano Naik says 5 minutes. Debas also says 5 minutes. Ganesh Kumar, World of Wines, Vineet Patil, everybody's saying 5 minutes. That's absolutely right. You guys got it right. If I don't push it, automatically the data will be pushed every 5 minutes. Now, what I'm going to just do is that, let us say if somebody has got confused, this was my other device. What I'm just going to do is, I'm just going to go back and explain the code again one more time. Okay. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say configure this product again. This is where the configuration is. In the hardware, we have connected up into A0 and I've given the variable as temp, which means all my data that is getting collected via A0 gets saved in the pin called temp. And data collection is every 5 minutes. Perfect. Now we will look at the code all over again. Set chart library is Google Charts. So Google Charts, it's a library. So this is basically what you see here is a Google chart library that is used. So I'm going to set the chart library as Google Chart. And chart title is temp monitor. So this is the title here. Okay. So this would be the title of the library as temp monitor. I've just given it my name, nothing specific about it. And next is the chart type. So it's a line graph, right? Because we are plotting a line graph. So I chose the set chart type as line graph. So I can set chart library is a Google chart. Title is temp monitor. Type is a line graph, and set axis name. So, timestamp and temp. So the x-axis has been named as timestamp. So if I go here, x-axis is timestamp and y-axis is temp. I can even let me try changing this. So instead of timestamp, I will make this as time here, and temperature as I'll make it in the uppercase temp. Okay. So I just save this, and I'll save this part again and save. And now here, let us just refresh this. And if you see, now the name here has got changed to temp and time. So, the value has got updated based on the changes that we did. So it's a very simple code. Library we choose, that's just the library. You can use some other library as well if you want. I've used Google Chart Library. So this is how all Google Chart Library codes look. I've given the name. This is just the name. So otherwise, if I want to change, I'll just try changing this to monitoring solution. Monitoring solution, I changed it to. And then let me save this again here. And type. So if I refresh here again, it would change the name to monitoring solution. So this is just the heading of the graph. Type is a line graph. Axis name is time and temperature. So temperature on the y-axis, time on the x-axis. And then we've got plot chart, where is the final now. So plot chart is the final instruction we give to the system, saying that on the x-axis, plot the variable called timestamp. Timestamp is every time a data is stored on the Bolt cloud, it gets stored under a variable called timestamp. So that is why on plot chart, we're going to say timestamp, and temp, which is going to be shown on y-axis. Basically, this I'm just picked up from this variable name. If this variable name was something else, I would have just written this. It could have been any variable name. I could have written it where, or I could have just used any name here. That variable name will get stored here. So that is it. We have just done our code, and this is like our first product that we built, an Internet of Things device. I'll just push one more data value. And these are, of course, what I have shown you here is a very basic, quick flavor I wanted to give you. There are many other factors that would come in, like even this graph which is shown, you can specifically show, right now it just shows the values. So this is the sensor here that I've got, and it just shows the values randomly. But I can then plot it in a particular value, like range. Let's say I can show only in degrees Celsius or in Fahrenheit. So all of these options we can continue writing on the code and make all these updates so that the system, because right now it just shows me the temperature value just changing. And if you see why it's changing so quickly, because it's not much of a difference. It's just 270 and 273. So it is just changing between a very small range, as in when there is a let's say a draft of air or anything, whenever it takes the data value that would come into picture about it. So that was it, a very, very brief outline I wanted to give you about the project which is there. Now, I have one more question for you. What is a full form of IoT? Now, I've got a very, very simple, basic question. So let's do this very quickly. What is a full form of IoT? Can you write in the comment section? This is like a quick rapid fire round. Let's do that because we are, answer, somebody says B. Internet of Things. Aarti says it's Internet of Things. Manav Naik says B. Vinit Patil says B. Okay, everybody seems to be choosing B. So I will say B and submit. Yes, we are absolutely right here with this answer. And I've got one more question for you guys. Okay, so we're moving to the next question very quickly. Which of the following is an application of Internet of Things? Okay, which of the following is an application of Internet of Things technology? Internet connected car, internet connected light bulb, internet connected robot, or all of the above? Okay, can you quickly tell me which of these is an internet, is an application of Internet of Things technology? Can you answer very quickly about this? Bhumika Patil says D. I'm getting a lot of answers here is B and Internet of Things. So I believe a lot of people are still writing for the older question. Anushka Saxena says D. Aman Nayak says D. Okay, so I'll go ahead and choose this option as D and I'll say submit. Yes, that's absolutely right. This is the correct answer for it. Okay. Perfect. So this was just a quick demo also of the Internet of Things. I just wanted to give you a quick flavor about how Internet of Things work. And we also had a very, very quick quiz section here now. Okay, now comes another interesting part about the job opportunities in the field of IoT. Okay, and which is something very, very important. A lot of you, especially the students, would have logged in to know more about the job opportunities in the field of IoT. So as I've shared earlier, IoT involves confluence of multiple skills and technologies. So this opens up a vast range of job opportunities for the students with the skills in the Internet of Things. Like it requires IoT system requires software developers. This would be the front end who plot the graphs and how things would look, the back end programming that would happen, and a lot of times the full stack developer who would know all of these. And IoT also requires electronics and hardware engineer because there's also the physical aspects of it. IoT also requires security expert because it's not just about the communication, right? What if a lot of data that we collect and the communication, you don't want somebody hacking into your systems. We also require network and networking experts as well, people who would understand how this communication between devices and the cloud and Wi-Fi would work. And just collecting this data is not enough. We want to analyze and get insights out of it, which is where the data analysts and machine learning experts would come. So, once you learn IoT, you can get into, or if you want to get into an IoT industry, you can get into any of these sectors and you can still be working in an Internet of Things space, and which is something very, very useful or good for all of you, that you could be part of IoT. It requires multiple technologies, and which is what makes it so interesting around. So if you want to become an IoT engineer, what do you need to do here? So the skills required, first and foremost, I would say that you should get an overall experience in the Internet of Things space, and then specialize in any one of the areas, like which I told you about, hardware or software or security, networking. Then you can specialize, but you can get like an overall experience, a brief idea. So you can, and to get that, I would highly recommend you build some of the hands-on projects, which is there. And that will also help you build a resume with experience of working in the IoT domain. So that is where, so get a rough idea, try and build a few IoT projects, and then you can move into specializing. But getting started is a great way that, if you want to get started with that, great idea is just start building a few IoT projects around. We, in fact, have got a very interesting training, and we'll share more about it, where, how you can really get started with IoT in the next few parts of this today's webinar. And the last point that I also wanted to share, into why learn IoT. Well, there are many reasons you should learn IoT. First and foremost, you can get better job opportunities across fields, which is very, very important. It helps you improve your resume and become job hiring ready. Because you'll have a lot of interesting projects and hardware projects and work across various technologies on your resume. And it's a great way also to get started with programming. A lot of times, even if you don't have any previous experience with programming, you haven't learned coding, anything, and you want to get started, IoT is a great way, because whatever program you write, you can see it in physical world. You write a code and your LED glows, right, which makes it a lot of fun. Or you do an action in the physical world, and then you will see the output on the code. Like you light a lighter or a fire in your hand, and then it will show up on your screen. It can get an alert. So which is what makes it very, very interesting. So it's a great way to get started with programming as well. Even if you don't have any previous experience with programming, you can get started with IoT, and you can win a lot of competitions and a lot of prizes. There are a lot of competitions that happen during technical festivals. You can build your IoT projects and showcase them during the Tech Fest, and it is a lot of fun, right, to build all of this. So that's again a huge reason why you should learn IoT. So that is it from my side, and I would hand it over to the Internshala team. Manpreet, you could take it over from here.
Thank you so much, Pranav. Thanks for the amazing session and for all the information that you've shared with us today. And before we open the floor to our audience, I wanted to ask you something on behalf of everyone. So my question is that somebody who is eagerly interested in this domain and wants to learn the basics of IoT, what's the right path for me to make my shuruaat?
Sure. To get started in the IoT space, I would always suggest that you should get started by building your own hands-on projects. Build your own thing. IoT projects around with it. And the best way to really get started is Internshala has, we've got a really interesting, good training on Internshala. And that is something that I would highly recommend because it teaches you the concepts, first of all, right from the basics. So we teach all the concepts from the fundamentals. And, it also makes you, you're going to be building really good hands-on projects as part of it. So if you're really getting started with it, I would highly recommend the training that we have. And the good part about this training is that we would teach you in a very structured and a systematic way. A lot of times I do get this question that, if I'm, like there are many choices, when you're learning IoT. Like, why would I specifically recommend this? It teaches you the concepts in a very structured way. Like once you register for the training, all the components and the kit which is required, we ship it to your home. So as soon as you register for the training, we'll also ask you for the address, and you get a hardware kit complete at your home, which has all the components required to build like about around 14 projects as part of the training. And all these projects also we teach you from the basics, the programming that is required for it, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all the programming concepts that are required to build are covered as part of this training. And all the electronics, the hardware designing, the circuit connections. And even if you look at it during the project demo today, since there was a scarcity of time, I was not able to go much in detail, but we could, right from the time that, JavaScript, for example, which you use, we'll teach you JavaScript from basics. So you don't need to have any previous experience for that as well. So that is a great way to get started. We provide you with a complete kit, right from the training, the programming. We'll teach you the programming, the electronic circuitry, and we'll even ship the hardware kit. So as part of this training, moment you register, we courier a hardware kit across to your home, which has got all the components required to build the hands-on projects as part of the training. So that is, I would say, undoubtedly something that I would always recommend, and I would at any point vouch for is like the best way to get started with Internet of Things.
That's right. And for all the keen learners here today, Internshala Trainings is offering a special 10% discount on the Internet of Things training. You can visit the link that is attached in the description, and you can go on and just sign up for this training. Pranav is our subject matter expert for this training, and as he has mentioned, it's really amazing. So go on and register now. Pranav, now you can take some questions from the chat as well.
Sure. So if you have any questions, you can post in the comment section. I'm getting question, is Bolt IoT hiring interns this summer? Yes, we do hire. You can check the career page for the details about it. We do regularly hire interns.
So I believe that would be all for today. Thank you so much, Pranav, and thank you everyone for joining. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update regarding our upcoming events. You can also join our Telegram channel and get updates regarding our events from there. The link is in the description, and we'll see you guys soon.
ये क्या हाल बना रखा है?
इंजीनियरिंग तो पढ़ ली लेकिन प्रैक्टिकल नहीं सीखे। करता कुछ हूँ, होता कुछ और है। भाई इस बार ना मेरा फेल होना पक्का है।
ऐसी पढ़ाई का क्या मतलब जिसमें हो नो प्रैक्टिकल्स? चुपचाप जाओ इंटर्नशाला ट्रेनिंग्स पे। यहाँ है 3D प्रिंटिंग, रियल SI वेब एंड ऐप डेवलपमेंट, प्रैक्टिकल लर्निंग वाली ट्रेनिंग्स। ट्रेनिंग सेलेक्ट करो और थ्योरी के साथ प्रैक्टिकल भी सीखो। इंटर्नशाला ट्रेनिंग्स, शुरुआत